Hey, what's up, everyone? I figured instead of doing like some of the stuff I've been doing recently, which is just Q&A videos, requested videos, I'd go back to like my old style of video, and that is ranting and raving about things. So anyway, a lot of people are gonna know that last week was kind of a big week for a lot of progressives because three major things happened. Obamacare was upheld. The Confederate flag was taken down from the South Carolina State House, and gay marriage was declared legal across the land. So, two of these subjects I want to talk about, but they are going to be long enough to warrant their own video. So, what I'm going to do is talk about the Confederate flag and the gay marriage thing. And so, yeah, this is just going to be the little intro for both of these. So, hope you guys enjoy the two videos that are coming your way. So, this video I'm going to be talking about the Confederate flag, and the reason I want to kind of hold off is because I wanted to kind of see reactions, and that's kind of for both videos. I want to see people's reactions to things, and so this one is one I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and because I actually know a bit about flags. I used to actually study flags. So, first things first, I just want to say this right off the bat. I actually do support people's right to fly Confederate flags if they want to own Confederate flag merchandise, they want to have bumper stickers, they want to have whatever. I actually support their right to do that because this is still a free country, and I just say, hey, if you want to do that, that's all you. You know, you have the freedom to do that. In fact, I'm going to also say this. I know actually a lot of people who are from the North and the South who, they're not racist, but they kind of look at the Confederate flag as just a Southern thing. You know, maybe it's because, like me, you know, I'll just speak from personal experience. You know, I was born in the South, but I didn't grow up there. I mean, I lived there for like 2 years of my entire life, and that was, you know, the first 2 years of my life. So maybe I don't get it. I mean, I don't get NASCAR. I don't get a lot of Southern shit. But there are a lot of people out there who have in the past, and even currently, they use the Confederate flag as just a Southern thing. I know Leonard Skinner, they happen to use the Confederate flag, as well as people like Dimebag Darrell. Now, maybe these people, all of them, maybe they all were racist. I don't know. But regardless, so a lot of people, they kind of looked at it as just a Southern symbol. You know, maybe it was just, okay, you know, the people, they were still pissed about the Confederacy losing. They didn't want to be a part of the United States. Maybe it's, you know, because they wanted to own slaves still, or, you know, they just really hated the United States government, which that subject's going to be coming up pretty fucking heavily in this video. And then maybe it just later became just a thing that, I mean, Southerners, they have it. You know, it's part of their history, and they just use it. Now, in fairness to that point, I have known also a lot of people who, they'll have Confederate flag stuff. And they'll say things like, I'm not racist, but then, if you spend enough time around them, and I'm not saying like all people who have this are going to be this way or anything like this, but some of them, you'll catch them saying something like, oh, these niggers doing this, and it's like, oh, not racist, huh? And then they'll try to, you know, bullshit their way out of it by saying something, you know, along the lines of, well, no, there's difference between black people and niggers. It's like, okay, well, I'm not racist, and I do not feel the need to call people niggers. I don't care what fucking color they are. I don't care. If there's a black person I don't like, I just say, I don't like that guy. I fucking hate that guy. I don't care if he's black. If he's black and he just happens to be a bad person, he's just a bad person in my eyes. That's it. The black skin or whatever, you know, has no bearing over my opinion. So anyway, so that is one of the topics that kind of comes up. You know, people, they say it's a symbol of racism, which, you know, honestly, I really do not see any fault in looking at the Confederate flag in that way. Because, you know, contrary to what a lot of people, especially in the South, you know, because they don't call it the Civil War, it's the War of Northern Aggression, they act as if, like, you know, there's no racism involved. And they act like slavery was not a big issue in the Civil War, which, no, that was the main issue, okay? You know, yes, states' rights were a big thing, but it's the state's right to own slaves. Well, not the state's right, but the state to allow its people to own slaves. So to look, for black people to look at it, like, I view that as a symbol of black people's oppression, to basically own us as property. Hey, you cannot fault them for that. You really cannot. So, there's that topic, and then there's also the thing of treason. Now, in fairness, yes, that was treason, but also in fairness to that point, the original United States flag, the 13-star flag, the Betsy Ross, whatever you want to call it, that was a flag of treason as well. But the big difference is the United States actually won their independence. The Confederacy did not. So it's kind of like the abortion argument. Some people say, well, it's murder. Okay, well, maybe, but there's a huge difference, and that's birth. There is a difference between these things. So, anyway, so speaking of treason, one thing that, and I never really put this together until fairly recently, and I'm kind of actually shocked at myself and a little disappointed in myself as well, and that is this. Most of the people who are, freaking out about, like, the Confederate flags being taken down and stuff like that, they seem to always be like Republican Tea Party types. And there's actually a big parallel between these two groups, and that is this. Like the Tea Partiers, the Confederates had a real hard-on for the Founding Fathers, because that is a huge character blemish on the Founding Fathers, that they did not touch slavery. I mean, I don't know why the fuck they didn't, I can't think of a single reason why owning a human being is justified, why that's okay, why that's a good thing, but they decide not to touch it. Maybe it's just so they didn't piss a lot of people off. They had their own reasons. I don't know exactly what they were, because obviously I wasn't there and I didn't know them, but regardless, a lot of Founding Fathers did own slaves. But anyway, it's always like, oh, well, the Founding Fathers wanted this, which it's like, okay, even at the point of the Civil War, they were dead. And it's not like they said, this is exactly how you should be running the country forever, as long as it exists as a country. No, the Constitution was and is a living document. They knew that times were going to change. And that was very far-sighted, I guess far-sighted, maybe that's whatever. I'm just going to rant here. Maybe, that was very clever and smart on their part to realize that, okay, obviously people are going to change. People have just changed recently. So, why not just make it so, we can change things. And also, it's also funny to me that when it comes to a lot of stuff, Tea Partiers and the Confederates, if something doesn't go their way, and you can even say this for back then and today, if something doesn't go their way, they freak out. This is bullshit. I can't believe this is going on. They want to take their ball and go home. In the Confederacy, well, before the Confederacy, Abraham Lincoln was actually left off of certain ballots, but he still won, and they said, okay, fuck this, we're leaving. To which it's like, okay, because you didn't get your way. Same thing with a lot of the Tea Party types. It's very sad. If something doesn't go their way, they act as if the country sucks. Everything is just horrible. Things are they're going to hell in a handbasket. This is just, it sucks. And, and it's funny because at work, there's a guy who I work with, and I don't particularly care for the guy, but because he's not the most informed person, and I'm not either. So for me to say that is actually a big deal. And I also don't think I'm the smartest person, but compared to him, I mean, I am like, 190 level IQ. So anyway, just yesterday, what was this? Maybe Wednesday or Thursday of this week as I'm recording this. He was outside talking to his wife, because he has this tendency of calling his wife on every break he has, but whatever. So he's like, oh, what more does this country have to go through? And I'm like, what? What the fuck is going on? Now that TV land is taking off Dukes of Hazzard because the Confederate flag, what more does this country have to go to? Now, there's so many stupid things about this. Number one, they should have taken off the Dukes of Hazzard years ago, because the show sucks. I mean, honestly, I watched like an episode and I'm like, this is what people were freaking out about? I mean, maybe I should have looked at it in context of like, late 70s, early 80s, but regardless, I thought the show sucked. Also, it's like, okay, what more does this country have to go through? Are you serious? Because the Confederacy seceding led to a pretty fucking bloody war. That led to a war where more Americans died than I believe any other war. I believe so. I mean, if something else has surpassed it, I'm not aware of it. So it's like, what more do we have to go through? Now, I'm going to just bring this up as well, because, and this is a good way to preface this, I think when people, and it's usually progressives and liberals doing this, if people are going to freak out about just seeing a Confederate flag, you're getting a little too overly sensitive here. You do not have the right to not be offended. I think that if, there is something, which this show was made back in the 70s and 80s, when the Confederate flag wasn't looked at as, like some racist symbol, but to take that down and to say we're going to take the Confederate flag off the General Lee, it's kind of stupid. You know, it's like, okay, it's an old show. And I actually read a few articles about this, about them taking off the Confederate flag, and even like some of the people who make like the replicas, they said, I'm not going to take the Confederate flag off there. That's how the goddamn car looked. You know, to me, I equate it to the people who build like World War II models, and I built quite a few of those. And some of them happen to be German, and some of them happen to have swastikas on them, because I was all about accuracy, and the Germans had swastikas on like their planes and some of their tanks and stuff. So if you want to be accurate, you're gonna have to have the swastika. But some people, they like say, I refuse to put the swastika on there. Why? Well, it might offend some people. That's how it looked. Okay, who cares? And now maybe it's just because I kind of look at the Confederate flag in just a historical way. Tripping over my words. And like actually fairly close to me right now, and really close to where I used to live, my last place, the dungeon basement, if you guys remember that one. There's actually a Confederate cemetery called Camp Chase. And every so often, like, they would have events there, and a lot of the guys had, like, you know, Confederate battle flags, like the national Confederate flag, things like this. And it was just for that event. There's not, like, a Confederate flag flying there. Which leads me to something. So, South Carolina. Apparently they decided to start flying the Confederate flag in 1961. Now, apparently I was wrong, and I decided to look this up right before the video just to make sure my facts were correct. I went to PolitiFact to check this. I had thought that it was just kind of to honor the Civil War. It's like, okay, you know, South Carolina, they were the first state to secede from the Union, and I just thought it was some way of, you know, them like honoring the Confederate soldiers, because I mean, I think soldiers are soldiers, you know, like maybe they were wrong. I mean, just like a lot of German soldiers in World War II, like they were wrong, but, you know, a lot of them had nothing to do with the atrocities of what was going on under the Third Reich. Same with, you know, a lot of Confederate soldiers, they actually didn't own slaves, but, you know, they did fight for that side, but whatever. And they just apparently, before I get on to that, apparently, like, there's actually some conflicting stories here. It was for one reason or this reason. In fact, some people say it was like the Dixiecrats decided to put that up is like basically a middle finger to the federal government. And also some people say, and I think this one probably does hold some water, that it was basically a slap in the face to the people who wanted equal rights. Because this was, you know, during segregation and Jim Crow laws and things like this. So that one might hold water. They might all hold water. I'm not sure. I don't know for a fact, so I'm not going to say either way. So anyhow, so they've been flying it ever since, and it is kind of fucked up. And Nikki Haley, and I'm going to be talking about her a little bit later as well. Nothing against her. It's just she comes up, but she said, you know, we should take it down. Now, the thing that really pisses me off is this. The Confederacy lost, 150 some years ago? The Confederacy does not exist anymore. They lost. They are a part of the United States. So for South Carolina to actually fly this goddamned Confederate flag, and it's not even like the national flag, which maybe they kind of did, like, see, it was just a battle flag we were flying. But to do that is very fucking disrespectful. Because if you're an individual and you're flying it, whatever. I mean, you're an individual. But for a state house to have this, and they have a Confederate memorial near the state house, which they have like at least the three national flags of the Confederacy: the Stars and Bars, the Stainless Banner, and the third national flag. Okay, so whatever. That's fine. And that's one thing that, another thing, that kind of goes back to the Dukes of Hazzard thing. A lot of people, they say, take down the Confederate memorials. Like, just let them have that, okay? Just leave that shit alone. You know, this is something that's obviously important to them. You know, in fact, some of these people, they still get salty when they see, like, here in the North, they'll see, like, Sherman High School and things like this. You know, they find that very disrespectful, because a lot of people, in fact, a lot of Northerners I've known have said, like, what Sherman did was pretty fucked up. What he did to Atlanta, you know, just burning these cities. And I don't necessarily disagree or agree. It's like, well, hey, it was war, and wars were pretty fucking bloody back in the day. But anyway, you know, just let them have these memorials, and, you know, keep the Confederate flags to stuff like that, and in museums, and it's fine. But for a state house to do this, that's completely disrespectful. Again, you are not a Confederate state. The Confederacy no longer exists. You are part of the United States, and this kind of goes back to this whole Tea Party thing. You know, when people like me, and I know this predates the Tea Party, but it's the same kind of mentality. When people like me were speaking out against things like the war in Iraq, and the war in Afghanistan, at least how it was handled, or we have some kind of criticisms of a Republican president, that's bad. Why do you hate America? Why do you want America to lose? Why don't you support our troops? But they are willing to, allow a flag of direct rebellion to fly. They think that that's fine. I really don't see how that is. How is this even the same thing? Like me saying, I disagree with my government, the United States government. I hate America. But then them saying, oh yeah, fly that thing. Fly, oh yeah, that's great. Okay, so the Confederacy, they didn't just hate the way the United States government was being run, so they were trying to get people elected to, change some things. That's how you do it. It is a republic after all. Okay, you try to elect people that are going to do things that you think they should be doing. No, they just said, fuck this, and they seceded. What the fuck ever. Now, speaking of which, a lot of people, they're doing these things, they're talking about how they're trying to take away our Confederate flags. No, they're not. And in fact, a lot of people are getting mad at, I believe it's Sears, Amazon, Walmart, and eBay. They've actually banned the sales of Confederate flag merchandise. And also a lot of these Tea Partiers who, are complaining about this, they're also big proponents of the free market. And the free market, part of it is, you can decide to sell or not sell whatever the hell you want. That's up to you. And if a place does sell something that you don't like, you just don't go there. And this is going to be coming up in the next video when it comes to businesses who support or do not support something. But, Chick-fil-A, a lot of people said, I'm not going to go there anymore because, the things they said against gay people. And they got mad. See, that's bullshit. No, it's not. That's the free market. If a store doesn't want to sell something, and you're mad about that, boycott them. Just don't shop there anymore. There you go. That's the free market at work. So anyway, people are getting mad. They're doing all these demonstrations. It's no one is trying to take away your goddamn Confederate flag. No one is trying to take away your Nazi flag or your Al-Qaeda flag or whatever. Your USSR flag. You can have whatever the hell you want. They're just saying certain things should not have the Confederate flag on them. And that's things like state houses, in my opinion. Now, of course, we get idiots out there, just pure idiots who, it seems like they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and then they start talking, and you have no doubt they don't know what they're talking about. In fact, another guy I work with, named Eric, a black guy, really normal, he's in the United States Army and all that good stuff. A very cool guy. He's actually intelligent, and yeah, you can tell by talking to him, he's not stupid. He's not a stupid guy. But he told me a story. There's another guy, this little rednecky fuck, who looks like he's about 10 years older than me. I'm 30. This guy's 23, and he looks way fucked up. But anyhow, they call him Turtle. So Turtle decided to go to Eric, and I don't even know how this conversation got started. I don't think I remember the context of it. But Turtle starts talking to Eric. There's this big war. There was the North, and what they had what I call the United States flag, and then there was the South, and they had what they called a Confederate flag, and so they had this big fight, and the South law, but we just want to keep our flag. It's okay, and Eric, he was telling me, he was like, I really had no idea how to react to that. I'm like, I would have reacted like this. Number one, I've heard of the Civil War. I've been to school. Number two, I am smarter than you. But anyway, it's okay, keep your flag. This guy is not from the South. He is from the North, and he lives in the North. So how is that your flag? I would have more right to call it my flag because I was born in fucking Texas. But whatever, so he was going on with this shit, and no one is taking that flag away. But, that's how they construe it. But anyway, during this whole thing, when Nikki Haley was saying, we should take this down, which I say, good on her. That's really cool. Of course, Ann Coulter has to, talk her yang. And the fucked up thing about Ann Coulter is this. She's not just some idiot bimbo that you work with. Oh God, she was talking again. No, she actually gets attention. She writes books. Very shitty books. All of them. But, she actually gets some attention. So she said, Nikki Haley is an immigrant who doesn't understand American history. Right. She is not an immigrant. Her parents were. But then again, I thought, because she always talked about how, the Republican Party had such a broad umbrella. Anyone is welcome and all that shit. But it's like, okay, if she were an immigrant, who cares? She's obviously smarter than Ann Coulter. But anyway, then again, Ann Coulter, she knows nothing about American history except for like a couple little factoids here. She thought that Canada sent troops to Vietnam. They didn't. But also, so she started talking about things, and this just shows that she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about because, well, she's Ann Coulter. She doesn't need to know what she's talking about because she basically goes on base instincts of people, this base nationalism that people have. So she started talking her bullshit about how South Carolina had that in basically honor of Robert E. Lee. Now, here's something that, had she, bothered knowing some things, Robert E. Lee, to the best of my knowledge, he actually did not agree with the South's right to secede. He didn't want them to. In fact, he was actually offered, and this is me going from what I was taught in school, and I remember a lot of things. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Maybe someone can correct me on this and provide like a link to something, and, maybe I could put an annotation or something. But Robert E. Lee, he was from Virginia. So when he was actually offered the command position of the Army of the Potomac, he said no because I'd have to be fighting Virginians, and he didn't think that was right. So he kind of regrettably, I mean to say, had to side with the Confederacy because he didn't want to fight his fellow statesmen. Because state pride was a really big thing back then. And also, in fairness, he was not that great of a general anyway. A lot of historians seem to say that, no, Stonewall Jackson was the better general, and, the South started to lose after Stonewall Jackson died. But anyway, so they're honoring Robert E. Lee. Okay, he wasn't from that state. So already that's stupid. State pride was huge in the South back then. It might still be to this day. I really don't know. Maybe it is. I have no clue. But also it's like, okay, so you're flying at a state house. Why not just build a memorial to Robert E. Lee? It seems to make sense, doesn't it? But also, here's something, and this is just a hypothetical on my part. I'm not going to, act like I know for a fact this would happen. Because, Ann Coulter is kind of this whole, like, Fox News crowd, where it's like very, America, fuck yeah, kind of people. But, here's the thing. During World War II, quite a few Germans were not Nazis. They didn't support what the Nazi Party was doing. They didn't like the idea of exterminating Jews. They didn't like the idea of killing innocent civilians. They did not like this. In fact, I can think of a few people who were actually very good soldiers, and they weren't Nazis, and they were pissed off about this. I'll just name off two. One is Erik Hartman. He was a Luftwaffe pilot. I believe, I'm getting this right, he had 352 kills as a fighter pilot, which is more than anyone before or since. So he was a badass. He was not a Nazi. In fact, he was on West Germany's side after World War II. East Germany actually, offered him some kind of position. He just said no. But we'll just say that Germany wanted to actually honor him by making a memorial for him. And they decided to, have some swastikas because, that was the symbol that Nazi Germany used. Again, this guy wasn't a Nazi. I guarantee you Fox News would be freaking out. They want to honor a Nazi soldier. But let's just up the ante here. Erwin Rommel. Erwin Rommel was obviously a field marshal during World War II who fought for the Germans. Now, Rommel actually gained respect from even his enemies because he had a very clean way of fighting. He didn't do cheap shit. He wasn't killing prisoners of war and things like this. He was from the old school of German command. He was very into do this like professionals. We are soldiers. We don't do fucked up shit. In fact, there was one story about him, like he heard about some SS troops killing innocent civilians, and he went to Hitler furious, like, these men need to be reprimanded. That is bullshit. That's wrong. We don't do that. And he was somewhat tied to, like, the attempted assassination of Hitler, but he was a very good general. He was very good. But, we'll just say, Germany decided to honor this hero because he really was a hero for Germany. He was awesome. Some of the stuff he did was just like, how That's amazing. He had like nothing working for him. He had like no tanks, no troops, yet he was able to pull off some pretty amazing feats. So we'll just say that, since he did fight for Germany, he was a field marshal, they decided to use the field marshal's standard, which actually had the eagle and swastika. And they put that up there as just, in memorial to him. Okay, Fox News would be freaking out. I can almost guarantee that. What is the difference here? Why is this different? Because of course Fox News, they support, oh yes, have the Confederate flag. Okay, well, same thing applies. But, I really don't see how this is an issue for people. Like, I can't believe they have to take that down. Yes, they should take it down. They are not a Confederate state anymore. The Confederacy is gone. It's dead. It hasn't existed for a long time. And it's disrespectful to not only, the people around, because not everyone agrees with it, but it's disrespectful to the Constitution and our government. It's just, what the fuck? I really am just flabbergasted by this. Again, if you want to have a Confederate flag, on a flagpole in your front yard, you want to have the bumper stickers, you want to have shirts, you want to have it tattooed, whatever. That's your right. But for a state government to have that, even if it's like right in front of the state house, it's disrespectful. And for people to act like, no, it's not disrespectful, it's our history, it's our heritage and all this. Well, you know what, there are a lot of people who say, well, that heritage is pretty fucked up. Slavery is not good, it never was good, it never will be good. So anyway, I'm done with this video. I'll probably be recording the next one right after this. So anyway, I'll see you guys next time.